And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Althea Watson. Althea had 2 near-death experiences, and today we're going to learn about them. Althea, thank you so much for being my guest, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It is just an honor and a pleasure to be here speaking with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Althea, if you don't mind, let's just start with your first one and go from there.
Okay. And that's something that I have never discussed before with people. And so I'm just delighted to do that. I was actually telling a friend of mine, she was like, how are you going to prepare to talk to JeffMara? And I was like, well, I'm crying a lot. And she was like, how does that prepare you? And I'm like, it's the relief of holding in an experience that I had years before I was 7 years old that I have never really talked about, and I'm going to talk about today. There's not a lot I can say about the location, the year, the circumstances, because there were several people involved, and there are still some people that are healing from the victimization. And so what I can do, though, is talk about what happened during the NDE experience, because I was taken out of my body, and I was surrounded by blackness, and I know that someone was leading me. I don't know who it was. And I was very, disoriented. I didn't know where I was, what I was doing. And we come out. I will probably get very emotional at times.
That's okay.
But into this just incredible feeling of love. It was this light, this bright white light, and this deep love. And I had come from a place of just violence and hate, and I didn't understand what was going on. And so to go from that extreme to the other was just mind-boggling to me. And all of a sudden, being surrounded in this love, I realized I wasn't in my body. I couldn't see my body. I couldn't feel my body. I was just in this light. And I was speaking as if it was from my mind, because I had no one in front of me like you and I are in front of each other, talking to each other. It was just this feeling of love. And there's a word that I use when I think of this. It's a Japanese word, and it's called Yugen, Y-U-G-E-N. And it's the awareness of the universe that triggers emotional responses too deep and mysterious for words.
That's an amazing word.
Isn't that a great word? I tell you, the Japanese have such great words that because it's about, it's like the Eskimos having all these different names for snow. It's like, why don't we have all these different names for love? Because there are so many different degrees of it, and of ecstasy, or of what it is to be in this spiritual world and to feel what we really are. At going back to my experience, because I can just kind of ramble and lose sight, but going back to this experience, what I was told was that I would be protected and cared for. Wow. And that I might continue to be in violent situations. And I'm like, oh, I didn't understand this. I was a child, so I'm limited anyway in understanding. But one thing that I recalled later on was when you're on the other side in this place, you have more wisdom and intelligence than what you have in your physical body. And I've seen that more and more through meditation and continuing my spiritual studies all my life. But back, at a young age, I didn't really quite understand what was going on. But I started to see that I'm not my body, and I was saved by something. And I got a choice. They said to me, do you want to stay here? Because if you want to stay here, you can, and then you won't be going back to what you'll be facing when you go back. And I don't remember exactly the words, of course, because it was so long ago, but there was an indication that we come in with lessons to learn and that we have free will, so we have choice. And they were telling me, you have a choice. You can stay here and you can go back. If you go back, you might be subject to more violence in your life. Everyone has the ability to discern. We have free will. But do we all accomplish what we want to accomplish in a lifetime? And I didn't know what that meant at the time. That kind of certain things stayed with me. And I was like, what does that mean? That's why I thought I was so crazy for the longest time. But we come in and we have free will and we have discernment and we have choice. And sometimes other people's choices affect us in a way that might be hurtful to us. Someone can choose to fire a gun or not fire a gun. There is a moment where they have that control, even in, passion is something that I think so many people are in prison for, because they get caught up and they get lost in this passion, and that's when they commit a crime. We have a moment before that happens where we can stop. Whether we feel it or not, we can. It depends on what else we're carrying in us. And so telling a child this, it was like, I didn't really understand this, but I missed my dog and I was pretty scared, even though it was this most amazing feeling that I really have to say I never felt before. I mean, I knew what it was to be in great laughter and to be loved by, parents and friends and my dog. But this love is just beyond, it is so deep and so beyond anything but going back to you, Jen, for a description, just beyond comprehension. And so I said, I miss my dog and I miss my mommy. And bam, I was back in my body. I was so disoriented because I didn't know who I was talking to. I just knew that there was this bright light. I saw other colors. And you know something? I have never seen those colors on the earth plane. When I was a young kid, I always thought I would be like a fashion designer or a pattern designer. I just love color. And so I was always drawing and working with color. And that was one thing that stayed with me, was that, what were those colors? But it was all like, I didn't understand it till I had my next near-death experience. And I would say that over the days of this, I tried talking to a couple of people, but they thought I was crazy. They were like, and I couldn't talk about the violent situation because it was just, I couldn't understand it, and it was too brutal, and it was just chaos. It was about, violence through chaos, and it was, that's all I can say. So what happened to me was I was left with a feeling that there was something so deep for all of us to have an understanding for, and I called that God. I mean, to me, the light was God. I was raised as a Christian, and I was told that, you don't see the face of God, but God can protect you. Jesus can come and be with you and to talk to you. And So that was my understanding of it. And I would have to say that, as the days went by, I kind of forgot about pretty much everything except this desire to know more, that my life was going to be about the spirit world. I knew that because I also came back with the ability to hear and see spirit. And I didn't realize that till I was working on a Ouija board with my mother when I was 7. And all of a sudden she goes, "What just happened?" And I said, "Well, the room got really dark and the lights got darker, and we could see this like black mass of energy to my right, her left." And she just said, "We are going to put this Ouija board away and we're never going to use it again." And we didn't. But what that started for me was when I would be with my mother, she would turn to me and she would say, "What do you feel?" And there were times where I would say, a car and someone is being strangled in the passenger seat from the person behind them. And they're going to turn right here at this stoplight. And she would cut me off and she said, "That's exactly right. And people dump bodies in that lake over there. So you are never to go there." Wow. And I went, "No problem." So it's like I started getting my education through my mother. And until that moment, I had no idea just how in tune she was with the spiritual world. She used to read not tarot cards, but a regular deck of playing cards. And she learned how to read that when she was a lieutenant in the Navy during World War II. Someone showed up and they knew how to read a deck of cards, and they started teaching my mother all these metaphysical ideologies. And so she started teaching me because she saw that I was able to understand and experience what she experienced. And then I realized that not too many people understood any of this. I mean, I hadn't realized that when we go over to the other side, we'd lose our body. I was always told, "Oh, when you die, everyone will be there and you'll be with your family." And so I just assumed that, this body would like go to the other side and, I'd be playing with my dog and, my mother would be making, cereal and, breakfast and orange juice. And it's not like that at all. But I didn't really understand that part of my second NDE.
I was going to ask you questions, but you answered them before I was even able to ask them. You gave me all the information that I wanted. So,
oh, I'm so glad.
So let's just move on to your next one.
My next one was I had a hernia. And I was, I think 17. I actually called my friends because they keep better track of things than I do. But I was 17 and I had just been in pain for like a long time and couldn't straighten up, and it was awful. So they did some tests and they've said she needs surgery. So I went into the hospital, and the last thing I remember looking at before I went out was the Baha'i Temple. I was at a hospital that was near the Baha'i Temple, and they put me right by the window after they gave me the anesthesia or whatever it is, it takes you out. And I remember looking at this and feeling like, oh, so serene, how beautiful. Let me just be with God. Well, be careful what you ask for, because I did go to God. I that was my second NDE. And I don't know. Some people talk about how when they get out of body, they'll like see people doing the surgery and stuff. I kind of like vaguely have a very like dark picture of that, but I don't really. I mean, it's just sort of like there. I think maybe I look back when I was leaving, but I don't really, it's not like a vivid picture. What's vivid is going down this tunnel, going back into the light, and that I I got more information on just what we are. It's like we're a wave, we're a frequency. I draw pictures a lot when I like talk to people about things, and I would say, I'll just draw, this is what it was that I became. Can you see that?
I can't.
Oh, it's like an S.
Okay.
You know, it's that we're not particles. When how do I make this clear? All right, I have been with people that are in hospice, and I've been with people that have died a lot. And when the spirit leaves the body, my experience with cancer, AIDS, murder victims, is that the spirit will come out of the body, and it's a mist. It looks like a mist. And you can actually watch if you're seeing the person and you're starting to feel a shift in energy as they start to disengage from their physical body. And then this mist appears. Well, that's their spirit. And then a few seconds, minutes, I don't know how long later, you'll see the color leave their lips. And then you see their body change as the residue life force leaves them. Now, is that residue life force part of their spirit, or is it from like the electromagnetic workings within the body? I don't know. All I know is that when you leave, it's like a mist. Often people will say, gee, I went to this empty house and there was a mist. And I'm like, spirit. That's out of body spirit. And have they gone to the other side? I don't know. It seems to me, working as a medium, is that if you stay not in the light and you are on the earth plane, you pretty much retain comprehension of what you looked like in the physical form, which is helpful to people that want to get in touch with their loved ones who have crossed over. And there's a difference between that and all the different degrees of what is like the outer darkness. There are people that don't know how to go to the light. There are people that are afraid to go to the light. That's one thing I want to talk about, because I have seen that, and I have seen that with people that have called me over the years, is the being absolutely terrified of death. And here's the thing, we really do not die. Kind of kills the vampire stories, right? But we don't die. We transition. We transition to what we are. This mist, these great particles, particles and waves can come together. And what happens is our life force is like a wave. That's how I saw it. It's like, gosh, I don't know why. So it's part of the artist in me that I talked about earlier. I don't know if you'll see this, but is that better?
Yeah.
That's what I was. And we all have a resonance. We all have a sound made from this vibratory rate. And the vibratory rate also produces a color. So the color spectrum, where like you see red, and that's like the lowest vibratory rate frequency to produce that color. And then as we heighten or speed up the vibratory rate, the colors will change. And that's what we all are. It's like we all resonate at a different speed, rate of speed. We all are a different color, and we all are a different sound. And that's what we are on the other side. And what happens from this resonance that we are is we eventually can go back into what is consciousness, or what some people call God, and we become a part of that. So it's like, do we still exist? Absolutely, we do. we just don't exist as a human, because that's not what we are anyway. We are a frequency. We're a wave. Well, then what I was shown was, and this blew me away, I was told that reincarnation is extremely important. I was like, what? I've read like a few books about it, but you would be laughed out of my church if you, the church I go to.
Who told you that?
The resonance, I call it God. Yeah, I don't know.
It was another telepathic communication to you, or did you actually see a being?
I just saw light. I didn't see a being. I just saw this amazing light. And I know that someone took me through this tunnel. I don't know who it was or what the being looked like. I have no idea. To me, it was just another source of energy. And it was telepathic communication. But I was in some ways, I was more used to talking to out-of-body spirit in my life than with other people. I was like really socially awkward and, very reclusive. But I found that the out-of-body spirit was really like something that was very true for me, and other people could confirm it. And so to me, it was quite real. So it was more telepathic communication. And what I was told is we do come here for lessons. And some of our lessons have to do with what went on in other lifetimes. So I thought, I had thought before I went on this journey my second journey of dying, was I had already thought I must be Attila the Hun, because I had been in so many situations of violence or being bullied or, being robbed, or that I thought, wow, how come what is this theme for me? But we choose them. And we choose them not only for ourselves, but for the other people that are involved with our life. Like, let's see. This didn't happen to me. No, I should probably stick with myself. Trying to think of something. Well, okay. I had been attacked at another time than what I told you. When I was in New York, I was attacked on a subway. And someone stepped in and saved me. Thank you. But here's an example. Was this something that was preordained to happen? Was this something in the game plan? It might have been, but there's free will and choice. So the person that started to attack me on the subway had choice. She decided to attack me. Someone else intervened. This big, strong man stepped in and separated, got this woman away from me. In a sense, I think he was my human angel, because I don't know what would have happened to me, because this was a very crowded subway and no one was reacting. It's like not one person was saying, hey, leave that woman alone. Leave her alone. Go sit down. Because I was standing up by a pole. One of the poles on the subway. That situation might have been already in my game plan, because a lot of things already are. We do come in with a plan. Sometimes we get really lost from that plan. And so that sometimes is why people find other spiritualists. That's why, they'll say, I'm just miserable. Well, life is supposed to be about love, because the only thing that really is real is love, because that's what we are. that frequency, that resonance, we are that deep love. That's how far away we get from ourselves. And part of it is we're limited with the human mind and body and the earth, but we forget. We forget how deeply we can feel and how deeply we can love. We really do. So that's one thing. There is no death. We transform, we transition into something else. So people that are afraid of death, one thing I've found is that often it's because they carry guilt. They're afraid of dying because they have been told that there's hellfire and damnation for who they are. That is so not right. That is just not right. I still consider myself a Christian, but I consider myself a Christian spiritualist because so much of the Bible I do not agree with since my path and journey in this life of looking at what is real for me. I feel that the Bible is, and I love reading the Bible. I love the Psalms. There's so much. I love Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I love them. They're my comfort, you know. Some people eat potatoes. I like reading the Bible. But not everything is, it's still someone's observation, and we can observe something, but if we are charged with the event that we're writing about, it's going to have a slant to it. We're writing through a filter. And I think that for each of us, our path and our journey spiritually is so individual that we can listen to other people, but we have to find out what is honest and true for ourselves, and that no one else can really tell us what to believe, or they shouldn't. And that's how some people get lost. They believe that they will be punished for who they are. They won't. They do go through a life review, and that life review is about looking at the choices that you've made, what you have done, and how it affects the other people. So for someone who is a bully, they will, on their life review, look at and feel the pain of the people they bullied. Now, when you bully someone, it just isn't that person that is a victim of that. You have the parents and the other siblings. You have the friends of the person who's bullied. You have the animals around the people that are bullied. Because often the person that's bullied goes through so much emotional crisis because they have been ostracized, because they have had rocks thrown at them, or been dragged to a basement, or had their bicycle stolen, or, you know, just all these things that people do when they're bullying someone. All that affects the bullier is going to feel and go through. Just like when you look at some of the bullies, you can't escape wondering about the family the bully comes from. And one thing that I was shown was that there are times where mothers know that their children are bullies. They go into denial, but they're halfway conscious. And then there are other mothers that are conscious about it and go into denial. Well, what happens to a mother that's living with a lie? They start to change. You know, I love that Mark Twain quote, "When you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything."
Yeah.
And isn't that a great?
Yeah,
I just love that. I love Mark Twain. He's just like, you know, the greatest. But it's very true. When we're just in our truth, we just live, we flow, things go through us. At the end of the day, we might go, wow, what a great day. I feel so serene. I feel so much love. I have no idea what I said or did, because it just is we're in the moment, you know? And then there are other days where we really have to go, all right, check off, you know, number one, I went to the grocery store, I gave the dog a bath, I got the dog food, I got the canary food. You know, we have to do all that because we have to keep our life working, you know. But in other situations, the moment we start denying what the truth really is, we start to change, because we are off center of our spirit. And that's our soul, and that's our life force. That's the mist. That's the vibration. That's what we are. That's that deep love. And so people do get lost. They really do. I mean, I have had people come to me and say, I'm just miserable. I make a lot of money, but I'm miserable. And I'm like, well, why are you miserable? Well, I never wanted to be a lawyer. They did it for their parents. They did it for their father. They did it for their mother. They did it because they thought other people would think that they were smart and honest. A lawyer, well, okay. You know, I mean, it's whatever it is, you know. So it's allowing someone to recognize that they really live for themselves. We all want to make other people happy. We love other people. We don't want to disappoint them. But sometimes people do that, and it's to the sacrifice of what is in their heart.
Yeah.
And that's when I start to see complications. It's not just someone is unhappy. It's that they're drinking alcohol. They're overeating. They yell at their dog. They ignore their wife or their husband. And it's like they do this because they're angry, and they're angry at themselves, and they don't know what to do with it because they still don't feel they have the blessing to reclaim their life for themselves and start again. And you know what? You can. I know someone who was 62 years old and went back to school because he wanted to be a lawyer. That was his dream. And he felt like he was, you know, made to be ashamed of anything like that, and he couldn't do it. And one day he just was like saying, that's it. That's really my heart. So he went back to school, and it took him a while to find a college that would accept him, but he finally did. And he became a lawyer.
Now back to your NDE, because I feel like we've kind of went way off.
Oh, did we? I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm just going to say, did anything else happen? Or if not, how did you come back?
I was brought back. Basically, though, what I've talked about in reclaiming the self is what I was told in this NDE. It was about find what's in your heart, because you are so lost. That's why I you know, so how I got back is I was brought back. And when I opened my eyes, oh my God, I could cry. My mother was sitting by the hospital bed. She was so pale. My mother was like a very tall woman. She was like 5'9". And she looked like she was 10 years old when I opened my eyes. And she was so pale. She had no lipstick on. And she just looked at me, and her eyes filled with tears. And she said, the doctor said they lost you. I never saw her be that scared or that vulnerable again, but I don't think she needed to be. Not when I was around her. But so she was there, and I was in the hospital for like 5 or 6 more days after that before they let me go home. And it took about, I would say, a year before I felt the feeling in my leg. When they cut into my body, you know, they cut through the nerves, of course, and the healing process just seemed to take a long time. And I wasn't that old. I was in my teenager. I was like 18, 19, 17, 18, 19, in around there. But it took a long time to heal. And I think that it was just a reflection of my struggle about what's in my heart and how easy it is for all of us to get lost. And I stayed lost. I was in a profession that really wasn't what was in my heart, but I had gotten some encouragement. It was fun. It was great working with people, you know, so I thought, I'll do this, but I was not happy in it. I stayed lost for, years after that. And then I finally was like, wow, the pieces came together of what I had started to push aside. We have a through line that we can follow through our life, even if we change what our path is, our career goal path, or, think other hobbies or things that interest us. I think that we can make our life flexible, because how our life comes together is through our mind, and how our mind thinks about us, reviews us, and of course, how we define and look at other people. And ultimately, once you're on the other side, you see that you make these decisions for yourself as an adult because it works here, but it's not going to work anywhere else, because this is kind of like a journey. It's a journey for lessons for us.
Are there any elements between the two NDE that kind of combine them or make them like a continuation?
Yes, that we do have a through line. I actually was given like little pieces of things, like I was given on the other side, and it was etheric, so it wasn't real when I came back, but a piece of stained glass, this beautiful, beautiful color, and it was a size, and it had red. It was predominantly red, but it had other colors. And then I had another experience years later where I saw a stained glass window, this round stained glass window, absolutely beautiful. And I recognized that the piece that I was shown as a child was in this big circle. And in what I was told was, there's a room by this stained glass that needed help. So this was like when I was like 11 years old, and then when I was like 17, 19, and then earlier before I was 7, that I had seen this stained glass theme. It wasn't until my parents had died and they were buried in this church garden that they were a part of, that I was in the church and I looked at the stained glass window. And I had been in this church before, and I hadn't really connected the dots. It's like, we don't live our day remembering everything that we went through in our life. We're limited, and we've got our agenda and what's on our mind and what we're going to, and, but there was a day where I just stopped. And it was as if I felt this presence touch me on the shoulder and let me see these different events of the stained glass window. And I saw this stained glass window. It's the most beautiful stained glass window. And it's my parents' church. Well, they were both deceased at the time. And I started walking over this way this was in the main sanctuary. And there was this small room that was like a sanctuary, a chapel next to the main room, where the congregation had their Sunday services. And it had stuff in it. It had these pews in it that were like way too big for the room. And they were facing away from the altar, where the stain was in front of a stained glass of Jesus on the cross. I mean, this little tiny room was just so magnificent. It was like filled with junk. So I asked the minister, I was like, what's the deal with this room? And he's like, oh, well, we've thought about cleaning it out, and, and then we get caught up, and, because it's a very busy church and it's active. And so I thought, this was a mission given to me when I was like 7 years old, but I didn't understand it. And I got pieces all through my life till now. Bam, here I am. So I wrote to the people that are the, administrators and the have all the church meetings and, make all the rules and do all the activities. And I said, I want to clean this room out. And I didn't get a response until I asked some people to come up and say, give me an assessment of how much it will cost to get these pews out of this room, because this could be a great prayer room, even if at times they are limited in space and need to put things in here. Let's clean this up so it's a real sanctuary. Mm-hmm. And so eventually those pews that were way too big and clunky and old and, I tried. I actually spent like a couple weeks on the internet looking to see if I could sell these pews to other churches. Well, what I found out is how many churches have been closing because people aren't, religion isn't the same thing anymore. People are using scaled down lecture halls, and the architecture, the furniture for pews is much different than what this was. This was a big, huge pew that would seat like 30 people. These churches aren't that big anymore. So what happened was the administration got involved with me because they saw I was serious, and they got the pews out and the room got cleaned up. And during all this time, I thought, I really love the people here and, really wonderful. But I got the indication that it wasn't for me to stay with that congregation because I was yearning for a much more spiritual meeting place for spirituality. And so I am not a member of that church. But what I got was, we do come in with tasks. We do come in with lessons to be learned. That was a task given to me before I was 7 years old. And I didn't understand it until I was in my 40s. And once I understood it, I thought, all right, let's do this. So it got done. And I think even the minister was a little surprised that I came in and did this, because it was something people had talked about doing and started to do, and then they went on to something else. So there's that. There's people are also, we do come in with like a tribe, I remember when I was 11 years old, all my life I would meet people that were in the psychic world. And I remember I was 11 years old and my mother kept this radio on her refrigerator and she always kept it on. And all of a sudden, because she loved country and Western music, but all of a sudden this voice comes over saying, and they've called in psychic and said the name of the psychic to be flown down south to see if she could solve this crime, because it was a serial murder going on. And and something in me, it was like this warm pull or something inside me, just way in the center of my being, just went, and I can't remember if I said, I want to meet that woman or I'm going to meet that woman. But, it's like, then I forgot about it. And, my mother went on and I went on to, do something else with the family. And 15 years later, I get a phone call from someone. And I'm in New York at the time. And this person says, I met someone that you really have to meet. And I'm like, sure. And I was about to say, come on, I've got room for everybody and here, just come on up. And he goes, I bought you the plane ticket, you leave tomorrow. Wow. And it turned out that he bought this ticket for me to fly me down to where he wanted me to meet this woman. And it was the woman that I had heard on the radio when I was 11 years old.
So after your NDEs, it sounded like you got some type of psychic ability. What are all the abilities you got?
Well, I do work as a medium. I do see out of body spirit. I love working with the idea of we can live fearlessly here. And our fears come from what we've taken in that does not align with our truth. So that's working with the chakra system, which is the chakra system, the energy around us. Well, in working with the chakra system, I can start to see what people are holding in different areas of their body as energy, like tension, muscle tension. Okay, so our muscles hold our bones in place. That's alignment, basic alignment. And we build our muscle strength. And then there are times where, oh, my shoulder, oh, my neck, oh, my back. And it's that we're holding tension. Well, this tension has to do with some sort of emotion, thought process. It can be because we've strained and we have just physically done something that we weren't prepared to do, or we exercise too much and then we don't keep working out to keep our body stretched out. There are a myriad of reasons why we get body pain. But often I find that the body pain we have has to do with something that is emotional, is about our thought process. Same with disease. I was getting, what is it? It's a high fever and a bad cough and swollen glands, like every 3 weeks. I was getting like a fever of 102. I was missing life. And there was one day that I just thought, I'm going to just go into meditation and find out what this is, because this has got to be something. And it came up that I was holding on to a thought process that kept me as a child. It was that, I had thought something about my parents. And so to save them, I couldn't grow. It was as if my Kundalini discharged. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but when the Kundalini, when all the energy in your body and your chakra system aligns, the Kundalini can discharge the very powerful energy. And it's like being by an airplane when it's taking off. It's like this loud noise. And that's what happened. And I reclaim myself and I can grow. I'm not protecting my parents by psychologically staying as a child. I let go of this. And that's when I heard all this sound, and it was as if you take Velcro and rip it, that sound. It was like I was going through that. And all of a sudden I came out of the meditation. I had no fever. I had no sore throat. I had no swollen glands, normal. And I never got that illness again. So I am convinced that, do we need medicine? Absolutely. Sometimes we do. And do we need surgery? Absolutely. Sometimes we do. Once I recovered from having the hernia, I didn't have that pain anymore. So did I need to go through that? Yeah, I think so. My life was much more active and energetic because I was able to be.
What do you think inspires you about your NDEs?
This is just an extraordinary game we're playing. It is, but it's not a game. It's real because we make it real here. But then in a flash, it's gone, because what we are, everything is like a projection from within us, from our mind. And it's exciting. We have one shot to live this path. And how we choose to live it, how we choose to think, is up to us. And so often we give up our power, or we want to be saved, or we want to do it right. And that is all man stuff. And I don't mean like man male. I mean man woman. It's human stuff, I should say. It's what we've put on us. And really, it's that in every moment we have the freedom to choose to love, to choose clarity, to choose to face our shadow so we can grow.
Do you fear death at all anymore?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not, because we don't die. And it's like I said, so many people have come to me because they're so terrified of death. But death is the BandAid. The wound is the guilt they're holding on to. I was mean to my brother and I broke his arm. I'll be damned to hell. No, that's not how it works. But that's how you think it. So you're limiting yourself. And so, I can't do this. I have too much guilt. These people that live with this guilt, like they know they're going to be punished. This is what they think. And it's like, oh, no, because you won't be. You won't be punished. You will be guided through your choices and have to look at that. But yet, this issue of punishment is from the earth plane, because that's what people choose. It's just like I've had people say, there is no such thing as God because the people are too mean to each other. There wouldn't be all this pain. I hear that a lot. And the thing is, that's not God. God is everything that we see. God is the Kleenex I've been using because my sinuses are running. God is your microphone. God is in you. God is really your soul is the life force that we call God, because it's the aspect of consciousness that's gone into your body and come down here.
All right, Althea, I want to let people know how to find you if they want to contact you and if you're open to it.
I absolutely am. I love working with balancing the chakra system and doing healing work. I also do readings, but my readings are oriented towards self-awareness, because people that come for readings are often like, well, how's this gonna come out? Does he really love me? And it's like, well, first of all, you have free will. So what you want to create, and you're saying you love this person, but is it the person or the dream? So it's really working with people when they come with questions. Sometimes we can find the answers to the questions, and other times we have to dissect to find out what they're really looking for, instead of hanging on to a bad relationship or an unhappy relationship.
Do you have a website, or should they contact you like on Facebook or?
You know what? I don't have anything. I'm just like been word of mouth. I am planning, because people are like complaining that they can't find me. And I don't have a business Facebook yet. But I need to do something about that. I really don't know what to do yet, because I'm seeing the need to put it out there. So I will have something. Right now I don't. Any suggestions?
Well, would you like to give out an email address?
Sure. I could do that.
Let's say you don't have to. I'm just saying if someone wants to contact you and you're open to it, how would you like them to contact you?
I guess email would be the way to do it. If they put in for session, or for, to talk about help with their MDE experience, I pretty much run the gamut of what people do, pardon me, for my sinuses, of being in the spiritual profession. So should I tell you what my email is?
Sure.
It's Althea, ALTHEAR WATSON @gmail.com.
All right. Well, before we finish up, Althea, can you leave us with one last positive message?
That love we can always shift into. And people go, but I try it and I can't. Yes, you can. Take a moment and think of when you felt close to God, what you call God, or close to love, whether it's a sunrise or your partner, just having a special moment where you're in that glow of being with your partner, and just breathe in that. And just breathe and relax, and then call upon your spirit or your soul in your body and say, take me to who I am. And we can shift into that vibration of that deep love.
Althea, thank you for your message, and thank you again for being my guest. I really appreciate you, and I wish you a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you so much. And I am just, what an honor to spend time with you and talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.